The boring weight loss system that works every single time. This is the exact method I've run with over 100 vegans and plant-based dieters who lost 25 pounds or more on my program. This is what I've landed on in all of that coaching experience. It's also the very structure that's frankly changed my life and still how I live to this day. This is the schedule, the system that I found to be most effective for number one, staying in that all-important calorie deficit, but actually two, making sure you can do it sustainably by not feeling too hangry or miserable or low energy throughout the day. Anyone can restrict the calories, cut out some food groups, and lose a huge amount of weight in just 2 weeks' time. But we want this to be rebound proof. We want this to be livable. We want it to be sustainable. We're not after more extreme weight loss. We're after long-term weight control here. That's what we do on this channel. If you're here, you likely resonate. And this is the structure that I've personally found to work really well for this. Nothing profound, very conventional actually, but it gets lost nowadays with what's popular and what's hot. And it's just this: small breakfast, moderate lunch, flexible afternoon snack. By flexible, I mean one snack per day, but you can move it around as you wish. I default to recommending this snack in the afternoon because that's when most people's energy dropped. Maybe they get sidetracked at work. It's 3-4 p.m. They have that afternoon, lull. That's when it can be strategically very clever to have a snack as a bit of a pick-me-up to feel satisfied. But you can also move it after dinner in the evening if you're a kind of, I need a sweet treat after dinner type person. I see no harm in that either. And then finishing the day with that big dinner feast. And now I appreciate all of this sounds very, very conventional, doesn't it? But that's why it's the boring weight loss system, not the sexy, new, profound, exciting new idea system or anything like that. But actually, I think it is not as traditional a way to eat as it used to be, with the popularity nowadays in the health space of something like intermittent fasting, or the growing trend of eating breakfast like a king and dinner like a pauper, if you're familiar with that approach. Quite simply, it's obvious downsizing meal size and calorie timing as the day, calorie amounts rather, as the day goes on, and consuming your biggest meal at breakfast, and subsequently your smallest meal in the evening. I actually do not agree that's the most effective way to lose weight. It might be beneficial for other things such as sleep optimization, but I actually don't agree for weight loss that that's the most effective approach. The reason why is most people aren't that hungry, certainly for a huge meal first thing in the morning, and also twin that with they have their strongest cravings at night. So front-loading calories very early in the day and then trying to survive in the evening with much smaller portion sizes when temptation is typically at its greatest for most people. They're flicking through Netflix after the kids have gone to bed thinking, what am I going to do now? What could I eat next? If you've only got a finite amount of calories portion saved for that point in the day because you've front-loaded lots of your nutrition, I don't know, that seems a big mistake to me. And what I've found to be far more effective is to save calories for later in the day within reason, because I'm not a proponent of intermittent fasting, so not to that extreme, but to save lots of calories at least, not all of them for later in the day, when, again, temptation is the greatest, and feeling satisfied because you've then got to go maybe 12 hours until your next meal. Until then, I think, yeah, having a backload of calories is far more better for feeling satisfied in that period. Now, what the meals are on this particular structure changes. The principles don't, and we'll run through those shortly, but my diet personally varied an awful lot last year. I was doing the yogurt bowls a lot last year. I was finishing the day, of course, with my big, lean stir-fry soups. I was doing lots of my Buddha bowls, combination of tofu or beans, some kind of legume with rice, various veggies, and maybe a fat sauce. Whereas this year, slightly different. I'm waking up every day. It's January. I'm still having my big winter oatmeals now. I wouldn't necessarily want that in the summer. Now I'm finishing the day not with my stir fry, but now actually a big tomato-based TVP soup. It's similar, again, in some of the principles. But what I'm trying to say here is that over the course of a 12-month period, my own meal rotation does actually change quite substantially. The kind of meals that I enjoy. I take a meal, I enjoy that for maybe 2 months, then it gets stale, then I switch things up. So I rotate meals in phases based on when I get bored of them, basically, as the year goes on. What doesn't change is the underlying principles, and those are as follows. As always, we are whole plant foods focused. Not a new idea to you if you've been watching me for some time. Whole plants foods focused. Not perfectly, but 90% of our diet, whole foods. Number two, We are high fiber, high volume eaters. That's the best way to feel full. Now, satisfaction and fullness are not one and the same. It's possible to be very full because you eat loads of fruits and vegetables, but not necessarily that satisfied for that long because, again, as soon as your body starts digesting this stuff and detects, hey, there aren't many calories here, bang, we're going to get the hunger hormones, the hunger signals running again, rapid fire. And so the goal here isn't to be so far with the volume eating that we're getting very full but not that satisfied. And that's maybe a different video for a different day, but there's a little insight there as well. But we are primarily thinking a lot about fiber, a lot about volume through calorie density, so we can maximize how generous our portions are, and again, still maintain that calorie deficit. This was one of the big realizations I had 10 years ago when I started to think about the bang for buck calorie to volume ratio of all the meals and foods I was eating. That's when everything changed. I could design my diet so I could be in a calorie deficit very sustainably by eating much larger portions than I was before. And that is a game changer. And finally, the other tenant rule that doesn't change, even if the meals do, is we have balanced macros. I don't believe in the 50-50 plate. I don't believe in going so high carb that the calories from fats come below 10%, if you're familiar with 80-10-10 or very high carb plant-based principles. I don't agree with that personally. I don't think you need equal amounts of carbs, protein, and fat in every single meal. I'll be clear on that. But I like this idea of being far more balanced with the macronutrients to maximize satisfaction and, of course, then get all your nutrients in as well. If you're not having any fat, then you've got to start thinking about omega-3 supplementation very deeply, which I recommend by default anyway, but you got to start thinking about it more deeply. And okay, where am I going to get the things I'm missing out on avocado via, okay, Brussels sprout? What am I going to do to get the benefits of some of the nutrients in avocado without eating so much fat? Does that make sense? I'm going kind of slightly into the minutiae with all of this. These are the principles that don't change. It's whole plant foods focused the vast majority of the time. We're not perfect. This is not total food purity, because I found that not to be that sustainable either, but mostly whole plant foods, high fiber and volume focus so we can stay fuller for fewer calories, and balanced macros so each meal is really satisfying. We get all the nutrients we need and we're not losing weight at the cost of having a nourishing, really nutrient diverse and rich diet. And that's it. And I think then the only other difference in this system is breakfast and lunch are very simple and quick, because that's what suits most of my clients and certainly my schedule. And then dinner, we can afford a bit more of a hearty cooked meal that's more calories, it's more satisfying, it's a little bit more spent on it. You're probably eating, or most likely eating, that meal with someone else as well. So you want to make it a bit more of an experience, a bit more interactive, a bit more of a feast, and that's it. And 600 clients through Slim and Sustain since 2019, hardly ever, I'll say this, I'll stand on this, hardly ever have I found one single of those 600 clients, maybe a handful of times, maybe even, it's probably generous to say 5 times, have I found someone for whom a small dinner works better than a big dinner, if breakfast is the thing that gets sacrificed in the way of that. Does that make sense as a replacement to that? This is the best structure to live, in my strongest opinion, my strongest suggestion. This is the best meal structure to live in a calorie deficit sustainably without it feeling like some brutal extreme dieting, again, that we've done in the past. The goal here is something that will be lasting, something that will give us weight control, and that's the difference between the dieting, the extreme stuff, the quick fixes, the reduced 1,200 calories so I lose loads of weight now, but when the cracks start to show, it's really hard to override the hunger, suppress the cravings, avoid the rebounds for all that long. Instead, just do a small calorie deficit with simple meals done repetitively with a nice distribution, like I propose here, of meals and calories throughout the day that actually upsize as the day goes on to match when you need the most satisfaction and fight the potential cravings. This is the exact structure that I found to be really useful, and this is exactly how I build my client meal plans inside Slim and Sustain. If you want more help doing this properly so you can lose a realistic and sustainable 4 to 8 pounds per month, whilst also learning how to eat a sustainable plant-based diet that feels like something, yeah, okay, there's still going to be challenges every now and again, but this really feels like something I can actually live with versus just another diet. If all of that interests you, if you want my help with all of this, you can apply to learn more about Vegan Slim and Sustain at the link down below. See you in the next video.